Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 4. With me, Dimas Prabowo, G1E020017, Nabila Kurnia Anhardin, G1E020021, Alfiskia Monica Nurul Safina, G1E020025. Semantic.
What is semantic? Semantic is the study of meaning of words, phrases, and sentences. In semantic analysis, there is always an attempt to focus on what the word conventionally mean, rather than on what an individual speaker like George Carlin might want them to mean on a particular occasion. Semantic is the study of meaning in language. There is more interest in certain aspects of meaning than in others. We have already ruled out special meaning that one individual might attach to words. We can go further and make a broad distinction between conceptual meaning and associative meaning. Conceptual meaning covers those basic, essential components of meaning that are conveyed by the literal use of a word. It is the type of meaning that dictionaries are designed to describe. Some of the basic components of a word, like needle in English, might include thin, sharp, steel, instrument. They might associate in with pain or illness or blood or drugs or treat or knitting or hard to find, especially in a haystack. And this association may differ from one person to the next. This type of association are not treated as part of the word conceptual meaning. Semantic features. A semantic feature is an element of meaning. Some semantic features are indicated by clues from syntactic elements of spelling and grammatical elements of organization features. Others might be determined by attribute or meanings. Still other features can be determined from context, in particular, extension and or variation of the root meaning. Some general examples of semantic features include 1. Gender, masculine, feminine, nature, etc. 2. Count, singular, plural, indeterminate, specific, etc. 3. Agency, possession cues, person, first, second, or third party. 4. Reference cues, this, that, the others, etc. Locators, temporal indicators, etc. 5. Girl, human, female, adult. Semantic features and grammatical features code a message for transmission from one person to the other. Semantic features determine what we actually understand a message to mean. Sometimes the coding might be ambiguous, so we need contextual cues to help us extract more of the correct meaning. Semantic roles. Instead of thinking of words as containers of meaning, we can look at the roles they fulfill within the situation described by a sentence. 1. Agent and theme. The boy kicked the ball. In our example sentence, one role is taken by the noun phrase, the boy, as the entity that performed the action, technically known as the agent. Another role is taken by the ball as the entity that is involved in or affected by the action, which is called the theme, or sometimes the patient. The theme can also be an entity, the ball, that is simply being described, i.e., not performing an action, as in the ball was red. 2. Instrument and experiencer. The boy cut the rope with an old razor. He drew the picture with a crayon. If an agent used another entity in order to perform an action, that other entity fills the role of instrument. In the sentence, the boy cut the rope with an old razor and he drew the picture with a crayon. The noun phrases an old razor and a crayon are being used in the semantic role instrument. When a noun phrase is used to design an entity as the person who has a feeling, perception, or state, it fills the semantic role of experiencer. If we see, know, or enjoy something, we are not really performing an action. Hence, we are not agent. We are in the role of experiencer. In the sentence, the boy feels sad. The experiencer, the boy, is the only semantic role. 3. Location, source, and goal. We drove from Chicago to New Orleans. A number of other semantic roles designate where an entity is in the description of an event. Where an entity on the table, in the room, fills the role of location. Where the entity moved from is the source, from Chicago. Where it moved to is the goal, to New Orleans. Example 1. Mary saw a fly on the wall. Mary is experiencer. Saw a fly is theme. On the wall is location. 2. She borrowed a magazine from George. She borrowed is agent. A magazine is theme. From George is source. 3. She squashed the bug with the magazine. She is agent. Squash the bug is theme. With the magazine is instrument. 4. She handed the magazine back to George. She is agent. Handed the magazine is theme. Back to George is goal.
4. Lexical relations. Not only can words be treated as containers of meaning or as fulfilling roles in events, they can also have relationships with each other. In everyday talk, we often explain the meanings of words in terms of their relationships. If we're asked the meaning of the word conceal, for example, we might simply say, is the same as hide, or give the meaning of shallow as the opposite of deep, or the meaning of daffodil as a kind of flower. In doing so, we are characterizing the meaning of each word, not in terms of its component features, but in terms of its relationship to other words. This approach is used in the semantic description of language and treated as the analysis of lexical relations. The lexical relations we have just exemplified are synonym, conceal or hide, antonym, shallow or deep, and hyponym, daffodil or flower. 5. Synonym. Two or more words with very closely related meanings are called synonyms. They can often, though not always, be substituted for each other in sentence. In the appropriate circumstance, we can say, "What was his answer?" or "What was his reply?" with much the same meaning. Other common examples of synonyms are the pairs, like almost or nearly, big or large, broad or wide, buy or purchase, cab or taxi, car or automobile, couch or sofa, freedom or liberty. We should keep in mind that the idea of sameness of meaning used in discussing synonym is not necessarily total sameness. There are many occasions when one word is appropriate in a sentence, but its synonym will be odd. For example, whereas the word answer fits in the sentence, Sandy had only one answer correct on the test, the word reply would sound odd. 6. Antonym. Two forms with opposite meanings are called antonyms. Some common examples are the pairs, like alive or dead, big or small, fast or slow, happy or sad, hot or cold, long or short, male or female, married or single, old or new, rich or poor, and true or false. Antonyms are usually divided into two main types: gradable, or opposites along a scale, and non-gradable, or direct opposites. Gradable antonyms, such as the pair big or small, can be used in comparative construction, like I'm bigger than you and a pony is smaller than a horse. Also, the negative of one member of gradable pair does not necessarily imply the other. For example, the sentence "My car isn't old" doesn't necessarily mean my car is new. With non-gradable antonyms, or also called complementary pairs, comparative constructions are not normally used. We don't typically describe someone as neither or more dead than another. Also, the negative of one member of a non-gradable pair does imply the other member. That is, my grandparents are not alive does indeed mean my grandparents are dead. Other non-gradable antonyms in the earlier list are the pairs, male or female, married or single, and true or false. 7. Hyponym. When the meaning of one form is included in the meaning of another, the relationship is described as hyponym. Examples are the pairs, animal or dog, dog or poodle, vegetable or carrot, flower or rose, tree or banyan. The concept of inclusion involved in this relationship is the idea that if an object is a rose, then it is necessarily a flower. So, the meaning of flower is included in the meaning of rose, or rose is a hyponym of flower. 8. Prototype. While the words canary, cormorant, dove, duck, flamingo, parrot, pelican, and robin are all equally cohyponyms of the superordinate bird, they are not all considered to be equally good examples of the category bird. According to some research, the most characteristic instance of the category bird is robin. The idea of the characteristic instance of a category is known as the prototype. The concept of a prototype helps explain the meaning of certain words like bird, not in terms of component features, for example, has feathers and has wings, but in terms of resemblance to the clearest example. Thus, even native speakers of English might wonder if ostrich or penguin should be hyponyms of bird, or technically they are, but have no trouble deciding about sparrow or pigeon. These last two are much closer to the prototype. 9. Homophones and homonyms. When two or more different written forms have the same pronunciation, they are described as homophones. Common examples are pear or pear, meat or meat, flower or flower, pale or pale, right or right, so or so, and two or two or two. We use the term homonyms when one form written or spoken has two or more unrelated meanings, as in this example. First, bank or over river, and bank or financial institution. Second, pet or flying creature, and pet or used in sports. Third, mole or on skin, and mole or small animal. Fourth, pupil or at school, and pupil or in the eye. Fifth, race or contest of speed, and race or ethnic group. The temptation is to think that the two types of bank must be related in meanings. They are not. Homonyms are words that have separate histories and meanings, but have accidentally come to have exactly the same form. 10. Polysemy. When we encounter two or more words with the same form and related meanings, we have what is technically known as polysemy. Polysemy can be defined as one form, written or spoken, having multiple meanings that are all related by extension. Examples are the word head, used to refer to the object on top of your body, fruit on top of a glass of beer, person at the top of a company or department, and many other things. Other examples of polysemy are food, of person, of bed, of mountain, or run, person does, water does, and colors do.
If we aren't sure whether different uses of a single word are examples of homonymy or polysemy, we can check it in the dictionary. If the word has multiple meanings, in example it's polysemous, then there will be a single entry with a numbered list of the different meanings of the word. If two words are treated as homonyms, they will typically have two-spirit entries. In most dictionaries, bank, mail, mall, and soul are clearly treated as homonyms, whereas fast, food, get, head, and run are treated as examples of polysemy. Of course, it is possible for two forms to be distinguished by a homonymy and for one of the forms also to have various uses by a polysemy. The words that means a thing we can eat and that means a point in time are homonyms. However, the point in time kind of that is polysemous in terms of a particular day, and month means on a letter. An arranged meeting time means an appointment. A social meeting means what someone will like, and even a person means that person will like. So the question, how was your date, could have several different interpretations. 11. Wordplay. These last three lexical relations are the basis of a lot of wordplay, usually for humorous effect. In the nursery rhyme, Mary had a little lamb, we think of a small animal, but in the comic version, Mary had a little lamb, some rice and vegetables, we think of a small amount of meat. The polysemy of lamb allows the two interpretations. We make sense of the riddle why are trees often mistaken for dogs by recognizing the homonymy in the answer because of their bark. 12. Metonymy. The relatedness of meaning found in polysemy is essentially based on similarity. The head of a company is similar to the head of a person on top of and controlling the body. There is another type of relationship between words, based simply on a close connection in everyday experience. That close connection can be based on a container contains relation, butter or water, cane or juice, a whole part relation, car or wheels, house or roof, or a representative symbol relationship, king or crown, the president or the White House. Using one of these words to refer to the other is an example of metonymy. It is our familiarity with metonymy that makes it possible for us to understand he drank the whole bottle. Although it sounds absurd literally, in example, he drank the liquid, not the glass object. We also accept the White House has announced blah blah blah, or Downing Street protested blah 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 without being puzzled that buildings appear to be talking. We use metonymy when we talk about filling up the car, answering the door, boiling a kettle, giving someone a hand, or needing some wheels. Many examples of metonymy are highly conventionalized and easy to interpret. However, other examples depend on the ability to infer what the speaker has in mind. Third, in collocation. One final aspect of our knowledge of words has nothing to do with any of the factors considered so far. We know which words tend to occur with other words. If you ask 1,000 people what they think of when you say hammer, more than half will say nail. If you say table, they'll mostly say chair. And butter, Alice's bread. Needle, Alice's thread. And salt, Alice's pepper. One way we seem to organize our knowledge of words is simply on the basis of collocation or frequently occurring together. In recent years, the study of which words occur together and their frequency of the occurrence has received a lot more attention in corpus linguistics. A corpus is a large collection of texts, spoken or written, typically stored as a database in a computer. Those doing corpus linguistics can then use the database to find out how often specific words or phrases occur and what types of collocations are most common. One investigation looked at 84 occurrences of the phrase true feelings in a corpus. After looking at the types of verbs, example, deny, try to communicate used with this phrase. The investigator noted that English speakers use the phrase with true feelings when they want to give the meaning of reluctance to express deeply felt emotions. Example 1. More accustomed to denying our true feelings, avoiding reflection and self blah blah blah. 2. We try to communicate our true feelings to those around us when we are blah blah blah. 3. The ability to express our true feelings and creativity because we are blah blah blah. 4. We appease others, deny our true feelings and conform. I suspected the blah blah blah. 5. More of us in there, of our true feelings, rather than just ranting on. Blah blah blah. Another example of semantics. Multiple meanings atau bermakna banyak. A child's alphabet block could be described as a wooden cube, learning aid, toy, or block. Some see the glass half empty, and others see the glass half full. A flowering plant could be referred to as a weed or a garden flower. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Paying a child for a course may be considered a bribe or simply incentive. Words without meanings atau kata tanpa makna. Cleans like a white tornado. Do you have a tired blood? Go for the gusto. At Birdside, we've got quality in our corner. Goodyear radials made for American cars.